So tell us about your childhood or some early years of Creole culture, all of that good stuff.
Yeah, well, I come up in an interesting family. Your grandfather and your grandmother, and from the Jamaican side, was daddy. Actually, his father was Irish and Indian. Uh, Old man Joseph Patrick Bates, the one that you were named after, him and your grandfather, my daddy, you the third. So, but on mama's side, it was Creoles, French, Indian, and the Spaniards. So we had a great childhood. We was a mixed culture, but a lot with mom family. Creole Traditions is real family oriented. Well, we had a lot of cookouts, a lot of every weekend we was at mom's house. Actually, every evening when the older guys would come home from work, well, we'd be in the backyard. They'd be on the table cooking, and mom bringing everything out. We'll have crawfish. We have a picnic table out there, and all the women, they would just put newspaper everywhere, and they'd be boiling crawfish, and that tradition is great. I mean, all my cousins and uncles, but every evening, even my brothers and sisters, all of us after school, some of them coming after work, we all get together, my nieces, nephew. But we had a great childhood. Daddy had a liquor store, but before that was an ice cream stand, and we all worked in it. My brothers and sisters, mainly my two brothers and I. Me and Daddy was real, real close. I was the youngest son out of 9 of us. There were 6 girls and 3 boys. So it was 4: Joyce, Lillian, Elsa Louise, and Sharon. And then it was my brothers Lil Joe, then Dennis, then me, and then Monica and Rhonda was the 2 girls after me. So the gap between my older brother Dennis and I guess that's what drove me and Daddy so close. But even though they spent time with me and Daddy stayed together all the time. But I had a good childhood. Uh, I had 2 friends. I remember it was 1428 East Washington Street was where I was raised. And I had a friend named Michael Winfield and a friend named Michael Holloway. Mike Holloway, we grew up together, all of us, but Mike didn't make it until about the age of 10, maybe 12. I think at the time we didn't understand he had leukemia. They cut one leg off between those years we was coming up, and then I was Dad's death. That was the first death I ever saw. It was we did everything together. He was so strong willed. Even after they cut his leg off, he would ride his bike with us with that one leg. He play. We did a lot of good things. We play under the house. Uh, Little girls have us eating mud pies. Uh, but I would hear them women inside. My mother and them would come out, and we had used to get us down. We climbed the China ball tree. We had a China ball tree. We make China ball. We make pop guns out of bamboo canes, holes, and you shoot it like it's a staff on it. And then we tape it with black tape, electrical tape, and we put the little China balls in it and spit on the end of it and pop it. And make we made a lot of our own toys. We had even a small version of a zip gun where we take a rubber band and a clothesline, pull it back with a bobby pin and shoot at each other. We're kind of crazy. But other than that, the food culture, the crawfish bisque, the crawfish etouffee, boudin, meliton. It was great. Mama cooked for 9 of us and Daddy. But wherever she cooked, it's a Creole tradition or a Southern tradition. It's not only Creole. Anybody could walk in that house. We kept the door open, and she cooked enough to feed the neighborhood. Anybody could sit down with us at dinner and cook. It was heavy Catholic religion, but we also went to Baptist church because my daddy's family was Baptist. but we were stronger on, we were devout Catholics. Now, we also owned an ice cream stand, and it was Jody's Best Store. And we had hot sausage, hamburgers, snowballs, ice cream sandwiches. And the unusual thing about that, it was freshly made. I learned how to make ice cream at a young age. I must have been about 6, 7 years old, and we had ice cream, actually big uh, machine. We'd pour half and half milk and whatever's gonna be chocolate, vanilla, and it would come out like soft ice cream, and we freeze it in tubs. We'll put the cookie uh, waffles together to make the ice cream sandwiches and made them. We had hamburgers that'll blow your mind. I think there was something like maybe $1.50, if that, for a hamburger with lettuce, tomato, pickle. We had hot tamales. I had a cousin in Plaquemine, Louisiana, Eddie Boy, Honore, and he would cook these tamales. Was great. If you go to Baton Rouge now, my great uncle name was Ivory Honore, and the hot tamales are called Ivories. They still around now. They're all over New Orleans and the Baton Rouge. Um, we go horse riding on weekends with my grandfather, Papa Marshall, and actually, excuse me a minute, this is his pipe. This is one of my grandfather's pipe that he would smoke all the time in the truck when he would pick us up. The the time that I've had was fantastic. What a great upbringing. I went to an elementary school. I was at St. Francis Xavier. It was Creole oriented. It was maybe one or two, not many blacks uh, kids that went there, even though we knew everybody. We knew, and we were close friends with families. But it was mostly Creole people who went there. So um, I went there until about, I was a troubled kid in school. I didn't like school. So I went there till about, I guess, fifth grade. Then I went to Buchanan. That was in the bottoms, close to, right next to McKinley Senior. It was a public school. Buchanan from fifth grade to sixth, I graduated there, and then in high school, junior high, I went back to St. Francis Xavier and graduated eighth grade there. From there, I was supposed to go to McKinley Senior High. So that was at the time of Malcolm X, which is a hero of mine, and Martin Luther King. Uh, that the segregation integration stuff was going on, and then they bused one busload of us to Robert E. Lee High School. That they were integrating, one of the first schools, well, the first school that they integrated in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and we had there was a lot of violence, a lot of rioting, a lot of fights. Mostly they would put us in jail. And even though I looked the way I do, in the South, they know when you're black. And I've never tried what we call in French and Creole, poisson blanc. Our family never ever tried to cross that border. I'm proud of my Jamaican heritage. But I have cousins that done the same thing, that they wanted to pass, and that's another story. But other than that, it was so violent, so bad. I flunked out. I think it was the 10th grade. So my dad and them put me into McKinley Senior, another public school, and I graduated from there in the 12th grade. But during all that time between my education and what I was doing, I had a very busy life with my family. Just about all of them on both sides are contractors, bricklayers, carpenters. They actually, on the honorary side, they're very wealthy, self-made millionaires. They never gave us anything. We had to work for it. But we all started from my wonderful uncle, my grandmother's brother on the Creole side, the Cajun side. His name was Theodore Honore. We call him Uncle T-Dog. He taught us all to lay bricks. We all started that way. We are excellent bricklayers.
How big was the house? Was it a small house, big house with all the people in it?
Wow. Actually, the house I was raised in at 1428 East Washington Street, it was my dad, actually my grandfather, my father's father, Papa Joe. He actually, that was the Irish Indian guy that married a Jamaican woman, Mama Ida. And my grandfather actually built that house from ground up. Now my daddy did an addition on it, but it was 9 of us in that house at one time. Man, you talking about, I wouldn't have it any other way to have so many brothers and sisters, because it was a bundle of joy. You wouldn't think it coming up like that, but we all looked after each other. And especially me being the youngest son, I had 4 other sisters and 2 older brothers. You would think that they would they especially doted on me, kind of looked up after me, but we had our fights. Man, I didn't want it. Especially me and Dennis, we would box like Mike Tyson, and I mean, we had to. We even though we had all those girls in the house, the boys still had to wash um, the dishes. We had our turn that night. We would fight over that. Who gonna dry? And we would fight over a pair of drawers.
Who was the so who was how was the day in the house from wake up to sleep? Who was the loudest?
Nah,
Who was the quietest, most aggressive?
that's a good question, because when you wake up in that house, first thing we did was pray. We got on our knees. We all individually prayed. We had to make our bed. You would smell grits, bacon, sausage, uh, biscuits. You had anything that your mama cooked from sun up to sundown. So we all had to get at the table. We never ate without everyone at the table. We was that type of family that and everybody, if they were talking, everybody was quiet when daddy came in and sit at the head. Then we all prayed together. Then we all start teasing each other across the table. My sister knew I had this fetish about, if she would chew her food and open her mouth, let me see it, I would stop eating. Here come Mama. Mama was the discipline. She would slap us around anytime we got out of line. Joyce, my oldest sister, was like a mother to all of us. Smart, wise. She worked as a sheriff. Her husband, Pee Wee Porcher, was a bricklayer. And then we had Lillian. That's my second sister. Even when they were married, they came home and we ate together. Breakfast in the morning, whatever. That's the type of family we were. The culture is very, very strong, very connected. Then we had Elsie Louise. Now, Elsie had went off to Grambling State. They all graduated from college, but Elsie had went off to Grambling and Tallulah, up toward Tallulah and Hammond, all up in there, Alexander, Louisiana. And she was gone away for a while. When she came home, it was just like she never left. Then it was Sharon was next. Sharon was the pretty girl. She would wear summer clothes in the winter and winter clothes in the summer. She thought she was so glamorous, poking her lips out, kissing herself in the mirror. And then, which they all are beautiful. And then after that, it was Little Joe. Little Joe thought he knew everything about it. He was my oldest brother. Great guy. He was in love with horses, which he died that way, and bricklaying. Everybody in the craft at home think they the best at what they do. So he would sleep, eat, dream bricks and his trade. He was great at it. And then Dennis had an act of Dennis, we used to call him Bully, because he was the shortest in the family. Built, he reminded me of my dad a lot, but he loved to fight. He would fight at drop of the hat. If you looked at him wrong, me and him started going at it. So he tried to drown me one time because we was arguing about who washed the dishes and who gonna dry, and I ended up punching him right in the face, and we started fighting. He put my head under soap water, and my sister had to hit him in the head with something to let me go. That's how we did it. So I loved him, but he would make me fight for no reason. So the other friends in the neighborhood, it was Edgar and Rodney, these twin boys. He used to make me go punch them just for walking up the street, and I'd be fighting. And then it was me. I was mischief. I would do crazy stuff. I would stand up. My neighbor had this shop, poultry shop, upholstery shop. He did cars and stuff, and he was sewing in the window one time. I'm standing in my backyard. He's staring at me, wondering what I'm gonna do next. I picked up half a brick and I threw it through the window while he was staring at me, and I ran. So that's the kind of stuff I did. I used to fight a lot too, but I loved to hunt and fish with my dad. I spent a lot of time with my father. He took me under his wing, and we were best friends, the best of everything. Uh, uh, my son that's doing this tape now, we have the same rapport, the same closeness, and I'm so proud of him. But everybody know how me and Joe is. But other than that, then it was Monica. She was a thief. She was, Monica was something else. I would fight more for my younger sister right under me. She was a year younger than me. And she would go to a party and lie like a dog. So here I am at this basketball game looking for this dude, jumping on him. Tell you how mischief she is. She stole Daddy, he had some silver dollar pieces that was old, 50 cent and stuff that he was saving. I think he got them from his dad or his grandfather. And she went and sold them to somebody at the school. Then she come home, Daddy was missing. She told him I'm the one who took them. So I got in trouble for that. Then after a while, they found out that she was the one that had them. That's just how she was. She was mischief. And then was Rhonda. She's the baby of the family. Oh Lord, drama queen. Maybe not too much, but she can get upset and she scream. And you talking about that's the blackest one in the family and look whiter than anybody, any white person I ever seen in my life. But she's the type that would stand up in the middle of a concert and say, hey, when everybody quiet. So we had all different personalities, but when it came, we all went to church together. We sit with each other. Mama would slap me across the room, even in church, because she didn't have to look. She knew which one was acting up. When I was an altar boy, not going back, I drank all the wine while church was going on, where the priest didn't see me, and I put color water in it. So when he got to where he was blessing the body and blood of Christ, the wine didn't taste like wine. He knew exactly who did it. It was 4 altar boys on the, so he threw me out of church right off the altar right there. Mama whipped me from the altar out the door and all the way home. So that's the kind of stuff our family was about. I want to show you guys this picture. This is my mother's mother, my grandmother, and my father's mother. That's my other grandmother. She was from Jamaica. Dad said that they were born in Baton Rouge, I guess, somewhere in Louisiana, but she, the darker skinned one is my dad's mother. The lightest, the Cajun Creole, that's my mother's mother. That's Evelyn. Darrensburg was her maiden name, but she married an honorary. And Mama Ida Betts, B-E-T-Z, and she married a Bates. So that's how we came about Bates. All right. And other than that, this is my oldest sister, Joyce Marie Bates. She had passed away. Oh, actually, she passed away. She told me that Connie was pregnant with Joey, and we didn't know what the gender would be. And she told me right before she died that she was gonna have a boy, and I named him after my grandfather and my daddy. And then actually she died 1 month and Joey was born the next. So and then this is my dad and mom plaque that I got of their marriage license, and at the time, this was taken in 1990, they had been married for 50 years. When Dad died in 07, they had been married 64 years. Now on their marriage certificate that's on this portrait, this picture frame, actually my grandfather's signature is on it. And he died in 1948. He was 52 years old, and he died on St. Patrick's Day. That was Joseph Patrick Bates Sr. So, all right, and then, what else I got? This is a picture of my dad. This is a picture of my dad. This is Joseph Patrick Bates Jr. And this is his father. This is Papa Joe. This is Joseph Bates Sr. And he looks like Al Capone, like a gangster. But on this portrait, what he was doing, he was walking downtown. He had a set of plans in his hand. He was a general contractor. Yeah, and then I have a younger picture of him. Papa Joe. That's a young picture of my grandfather. He took this picture in New Orleans. If you look closely, if you can see this good, you can see a woman's hand right on his lap. Yeah. He was a womanizer. This is a picture of him too. Yeah, tough guy. He most of his friends, his best friend was the president of Louisiana State University, I was told by my father. And he was Irish and Indian. I think, and his mother was pure Blackfoot Indian, I was told by Dad. His father's mother was Sicilian, so we got a lot of mixture in there. That's why we're so good looking. All right, so anyway, that's the pictures. This is a picture of my grandmother when my mother's mother, and on this is a poem. Now, my mother gave me this before she died. Now, she died 2 years ago, and when Mama died, y'all?
2018.
2018, and she was 98 years old, so she lived a long time. Now, my mom's father, Marshall Honore Sr., I think he was 89 when he died. So on that side, they lived a long time. Daddy was 87 when he died, but Papa Joe was only 52. He died in 1948. So I keep all that memories, and I want y'all to know. And most importantly, look at your wonderful, who's ever looking at this, great-grandmother, or when she was a teenager. Look how beautiful she is. Oh, man. You can't beat this picture. I think she said she was about 19, maybe 18. But, yeah, Elsie Honore. Actually, she had an ugly name. I couldn't say that about my mom, but Elsie Lucy Honore was her name. So, and just one other thing. I want to clarify a little bit about Monica, my baby sister. She's wonderful, kind, good-hearted. So I just want to clarify that. So, she was thuggish-like in a way, but I didn't want y'all to take that the wrong way. She just was, we were closer than any of the sisters because of, we was 1 year apart and I had to drag her along everywhere. But the oldest three, Joyce, Lillian, and Elsie, spoiled me like I've been a baby. Even at 66 now, Lillian is gone, Joyce is gone, and Elsie, I'm like I'm already 5 again. So I hope you enjoyed it. So give you a little heritage. And after I graduated from high school, my dad, he was he was one of the greatest fathers any man could ever be raised with. He was a good dad, good to my mom and 9 kids. He put all of them through college. But when it came to me, he used to call me Michael. Michael, boy, what you want to do? Your mom say you ain't going to do no good in college, but if you want to go, I'll send you. You deserve that chance. I told him, no, I got 2 brothers. they in construction and they went to college. I skipped the college part because I told him I didn't want to do anything in college but mess with the girls. So he said, I think you saved me some money. So I went into the trade. I continued to trade. I was great at what I did. I didn't like school books or anything, but I had a natural talent with my hands, a natural talent to be a bricklayer. And I'm told, because my father always put it in me, that if you're good at something, you don't have to say it for yourself. Like my oldest brother always told everybody how good he was, and he was, but somebody else will say it for you. So I went into the bricklaying. My great uncle, Uncle Theodore, T-Dog, was, I guess, chairman, president of the union out there. They made me join the union. And even my brother-in-laws were bricklayers. And joined the union and went into it, and I started working. At the same time, about ninth grade, I met this young lady named Connie Wickles, and I was still a virgin. So when I met her, I started seeing. I had word from a young lady in the neighborhood that one of my friends, one of my neighbors, they told me that she wanted to meet me, and when she was meeting me, look at my lovely, beautiful granddaughter, and so as she's in with the interview with her daddy. So what happened was when I met Connie, one night I had a friend of mine named Alvin Honore, no relation to my mom and them, but Alvin, he took me around and he knew her and her brothers. Boy, she had some rough, I mean, I can't say gangster, but they handled themselves. Everybody respected them. And that was the only girl at that time. Well, she had a little sister, but they was protective of her. So most guys were scared to even go around her. But I did. And when I met her that night, man, my head went crazy. That was the most beautiful, finest woman that I had looked at. Was, of course, I was horny too, because I had never touched nothing, just dreamed about it. I shouldn't even say that on this video, forgive me, but she was fine. And it was hot pants time in the 70s, 72. Everybody's wearing the hot pants. No, that was 1970, I think. And then I remember when I saw her that night, we talked briefly because I was kind of afraid of her father, and then we left and we started seeing each other, dating. And by the 10th grade, she had my first child, Sonia. So we started seeing each other some more after that. My mother was against it, and my dad didn't say much about what mom would say. She was a real disciplined woman. But I remember just getting into that story one time that my ex-father-in-law, now me and at this time on this date we're not together anymore, but I remember when he came to the house, was so funny, and he told my dad he wanted me to help with the child that his daughter had. And my dad asked me, do you want? I said, yeah, I'll still work, and I wanted, I was still in school at the time when she got pregnant, hey, Sonia, but Daddy told me in front of him, you can't raise a puppy. How you gonna raise a baby? Mom would come out the house every 5 seconds and slap me across the head or in the face. But after that, then I continued with the trade. I was good at it. I was great at it. And I was trained well because everybody was in the trade on both sides. On weekends, I would work with family. We'd build a house in a weekend. We'd brick one side, one half, and brother-in-law was there, all the family, and we'll build the next side and the back on Sunday. The women, when we did things in those days, we didn't work for money. We worked for all the women of the men that would help each other. They would bring, we'd have po' boys, shrimp, oyster, fish, po' boys, red beans and rice with hot sausage, and cornbread. We drank beer all day and whiskey afterwards, after we would finish. Then on from Monday to Friday, we was on commercial jobs in the union. So we worked all the time, but the whole community was close like that. When it was my turn to build my house, everybody would chip in. There was no money. It was a lot of love, a lot of family. What I left to my kids, what and you guys, when you see this after I'm gone, my grandkids, I want you to stay close, stay together. My mother installed that in us. My daddy friends, they always family. We all knew each other from childhood. My sister Sharon and Terry, we knew them all of Pee Wee. They always family members. Pee Wee Porche was Creole, Terry's Afro American, but they had that still that Cajun, well not Cajun Creole. They had more Geechee. It's a different, but it's the same dialect. Anyway, I did that until I liked to drink and womanize a little bit. I can't lie. So I liked the girls and I could never save nothing. We moved to apartments. Connie and I got married. And so I decided she got pregnant again for me. We were still married. She moved in with my parents. I went in the Army of August 16th, 1976. And I did a 3-year tour till August 15th, 1979 with honorable discharge, good good conduct medal. I didn't get any medals in it. Then I was known as a expert rifleman, but I learned that from my dad and grandpa. That was inherited. Just like Joe, my boy here, he shooting pheasant in the eye when he was 6, 7 years old, flying, and that's no lie. Ryan was excellent hunter. I've seen him knock rabbit down impossible shots. Joey the same way with rabbit and birds. Ryan didn't do too much bird hunting with my two boys. But in this story, along the journey before, right after Sonia was born, that I was in Baton Rouge and I was working, and Connie and I were married. I met this girl uh, named Patricia Williams, Pat, very voluptuous, nice looking girl. She was crazy about me. Most of the girls I went with, I took virgin hoods. God forgive me, but I couldn't help it. I didn't know. So, but when I met her, she had gotten pregnant from me. I was having an affair behind Connie's back, and fortunately, Connie found out about it. But I remember the day that Dana was born, and I said, I'm going to the hospital to see a friend. And she said, what, you going to see your daughter? And Patricia thought that we was going to get together. I was going to leave Connie, but I didn't. And I had a beautiful I have named Dana. Dana Denise Williams. And I love her so much. And I haven't been there all the time like I should have been because we was in different states. Financially, I haven't been supporting her either, but her heart is so pure and good. We talk every now and again. She's been to my mother's funeral. She has a lot of kids, which I love each and every one of them. So I'm proud of them too. They're all doing real great. So it's no way that she's in my heart, in my soul, and in my mind. And I hope she always know that. I wish I could see her as often as I can, but she's still in Baton Rouge. She was raised there, and she's beautiful. You can't even tell that Sonia and her and Ryan and Joey is from a different mother. We have very strong genes. They all look like that. They was one mother, one father. Okay, I love you, Dana, and I wanted to put that in there. And I love all the kids, all my grandkids. It's about 29 of y'all now, so, and about 8 great. So the legacy lives on. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna say it for the history, in case y'all watching this when either one of us, your grandmother was, Connie was pregnant again. My family was sometimes in Creole race they want you to marry other Creoles. My mom didn't follow tradition. I don't know why she tried to make me do it. So she got pregnant again from me. She went to Denver, Colorado, and she had a little boy, and she named him Patrick Chenille after my middle name. So, um, but that's a different story. From that, before I went in the army, she got pregnant, and I was in the army, and Ryan was born while I was still in. I was in my advanced infantry training. I went to my basic training in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. I went to my advanced infantry training in Fort Benning, Georgia. And then I went to my permanent party in Monterey at Fort Ord, California. Okay, when I got to my permanent party at Fort Ord, I was one of the top dudes in everything I did. They used to call me mean and lean. Uh, Now that's when Connie had came to join me. We was on our own, no family, nobody was around. It's hard for a man with a family not knowing anyone. So we stayed there on post. We had a few visits from my sister and stuff. I thought my trade was I was a fighter. I was in infantry. I was good at it. And I gained rank really, really fast because Grandpa was kind of crazy. Your dad was just, I mean, I would do anything, jump out of helicopters, 100 feet, rappel down, then 100-foot cliff with rucksack on my back. I was kind of compassionate. I seen a guy shoot himself. He couldn't take the training, was intense. Uh, I was the one who broke rank that would help some of the guys, big fat guys. That's the one that split his wrist in front of me. That he couldn't take it, he couldn't make it, so he wanted out. And I've seen things where the drill sergeant come to him and told him, "Don't cut your wrist this way. If you want to kill yourself, cut it that way." Like he was encouraging. So it was tough, but they changed me from infantry to a mortarman. I shoot mortars, and they call it 11C10 is what that MOS. That's your job. And then they created what they call a fist team. So I'm telling y'all these details. So, but it was they call it 13 Foxtrot. They took infantrymen and they took artillery guys and they put us both together. And in combat, if we ever got caught, our life expectancy would have been, they said, up to 5 minutes, because we was the eyes and ears of any kind of airstrike, any kind of mortars or holisters, or big cannons. We could see a whole unit, a whole platoon. We camouflaged. I was good at that too, because they used to call me Swamp Dog because I was raised in the bayou. And I hunted and I knew how to track all kind of animals. But we camouflaged, and then we would go in and we read grid azimuths, directions, distance. So that's what that experience did. So I went from a private first class to a Sergeant E5 within 3 years. After Connie and I had gotten back to the States, I mean, not to the States, excuse me, back to, we just discharged out of Fort Ord, and we came to Oakland, but I did 1 year reserve and I got E6. So I was a staff sergeant, and then I left the Army alone. But I wanted to stay. I would have made rank and retired real early. But she sent for my twos and that to make a decision on enlisting. So I ended up just following the trade, and I joined the Union in Oakland, California. My aunt lived in Berkeley. My daddy's sister, Lillian Jones was her name. So I lived with my cousin, my first cousin, Jackie Jones, one of her sons, and then we worked for, I became a foreman we built a jailhouse for 3 years. After that, my joy of life came, Joey was born, and I was almost like a mom and dad with him. My wife at the time, me and Connie had been married to Grandma for 36 years, but at the time, she had we was looking for a place on our own. I always wanted to go back home. Connie wanted to stay here, and eventually, I gave in, and then we ended up staying there for good, which was a good move. But we got married in July 26th. Yeah, because our birthday is June 25th. It's July 26th and 74 till we worked together. We split in '07, and I think it was August. But it was 36 years we were together, and it was a great choice. She's a wonderful wife and a wonderful mother. She was overprotective of the kids, but she was great cook, everything else. So then Joey was born. I was mainly he was part of my hip. He stayed with me. I would change his diapers. I took him to work. I had some pictures there existing somewhere. I used to feed him his bottle while I had concrete trucks lined up. He'd be in the stroller, changing his diaper. Sometimes he'd be on the scaffold with me. I work on weekends, but everywhere I went, I raised him just like my dad did. Out there and outdoors fishing and hunting, and um, so none of them special than the other, but we just had that rapport. So after that, I moved to. I had an opportunity through my VA loan to go to buy a house. Now I didn't especially like Oakland because everybody knows Oakland how it is now these days. But it wasn't so bad then, but it was bad. So I wanted to go out where I could fish and hunt and be free and see some woods. So I moved to Tracy, California. It was a great move. I think it's 1, 2, 4, 5, something like that. Antonia Court. It was a big court, big circle that was right down the street from a school, and Joey was the only one with us then. So we moved there, nice, beautiful home. It was a 4 bedroom, 2.5 baths, and upstairs, 2 story. So we moved there, and I, the union was doing good, but the union, they didn't want you to work any other jobs, which I did a lot. So what I did, I went off into my own business and got my contractor's license. Uh, I got in a Rotary to start it out. I was using my head because I didn't know nobody actually, or hardly anybody at the time. I didn't mess with a lot of guys. I had a lot of friends, but at home I kept private. So I got in my own business, and it was called quality mason, base quality masonry. I got in the Rotary, so the Rotary out there, the Rotary goes there. I got into people was into real estate, and so I would go by their office and put flyers, and they building new homes. I developed this thing of building custom fireplace, barbecue pits. I could do anything with a brick. I can make a square brick round. I did custom steps. The hardest thing you can do is a fireplace or steps in masonry, and a brick. Brick is harder to lay than anything else in the trade, like stone. But I'm not going to get too much into that. But after that, I became, base quality masonry became well known. For 3 or 4 years, I was best in best business uh, in the business of contracting. I got best business for 4 years, papers, awards, and the whole 9 yards until I left Tracy, and we moved here to Patterson for a little while. I was building buildings also in West Oakland. I had to commute from here. And Joey at the time was growing and growing fast. He didn't like Tracy too much as far as the school, but he was a star football player from, I had him into Pop Warner ball all the way up. It was times where uh, I had to commute because he liked the schools in Oakland, which was a brilliant idea. I would do a job in Oakland, come back, pick him up. We'd go back to Oakland for his practice. We would go to Warrior games. We eat the best of foods that they had up there, Lady Esther's, and we had front row seats, about third. The first one was way up in the balcony, but after that, but we had a great time. And then after that, I almost uh, lost my home because business was getting slack. And so what I did, I turned it around. You never give up. But I turned that around and from a negative, and that's probably where my kids get this drive from my family heritage. And I took that negative. I went to a real estate lawyer. We put the house up for sale, and instead of losing the whole thing, what I did, I increased my income to when I sold it for, I put $60,000 in our pocket. So Connie was with me the whole time. From there, what happened, times got hard again. It was like a depression out here. And I couldn't pay the rent. I was renting a place, and I had to move to, I was going from one place to another. Never really outdoors, but it got so, you got these so-called friends that love you to death and need you because I was very talented and everybody knew me as far as my trade, but they turned their back on me when I needed them the most. People I even lend money to wouldn't pay back or wouldn't give it back to me. Now they got these so-called friends that smile in your face. You have to stay strong and be who you are and get out there and sell yourself. So there are guys that would have jobs that didn't know how to do them, other bricklayers. Supposed to have been these big time and would call me because they couldn't handle the pressure of the job, but they knew I needed them. I needed the money, so what they did, we in those days we were getting like $150 a day. And they would pay me like $100 a day for coming out just so they can put $50 more in their pocket because they knew that I needed the money badly, even to pay. We ended up in a motel, Joe, Connie, and me. And they paid, I could barely spend that because it was like $60 a day just to stay there. And I had to sometimes talk to the guy, could they wait for a week so we could do the, so I could pay him anyway. So what happened, I ended up going out there. I eventually got me a place to rent. And it was so funny. When we got the first apartment after coming out the motel, we were so happy. Joe and I, it was storming one night, and the apartment we had just got there about a week. We got in the bed, and the trucks would pass on the freeway, and the whole bed would move to the other side of the room. We'd go to sleep on one side, we'd wake up on the other side of the room. Joey had an army cot. He would sleep in the living room. So one night, the first night we got there, I was cooking some red beans and rice. Now, if you ask Joe, Ryan, Sonia, any of them about beans, I don't think, if any of my grandkids who's listening are looking at this video, if you love beans, I don't know where you get it from, Grandpa. Because Joe and Ryan have been eating beans all their life. I love to cook beans. I love beans, white beans, red beans, pinto beans. No, not too much pinto. No cabanza beans because we're not Mexican, but I like the crowded peas, the black-eyed peas. But I got that cooking skill. I guess I inherited from Mom. But and all y'all dads can and Mom can really cook. But on top of that, that night, this is an important story I like to tell you. I've always taught your mom and dad, your moms and dad, my children, to pray. That's something deeply rooted, and I hope you all believe in God. And after I'm gone, I'll be looking down on you and asking Him to bless you. But this is a good story to be telling you, so you'll learn what God can do for you. I've never been a hypocrite religion guy. You know, I cuss, get mad, get angry, but I would always pray. Now, even though we just got to our apartment, I was happy, and I told Joe, what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna go to the store. We had our freedom. I'm gonna get, I think it was $70. I said, I'm gonna give me a pint. I give Connie some money and to go to the hairdresser. So I got a pint. I got us some candy and potato chips, and for Joey, and he ordered what he wanted. And then I got a pint of Jack Daniel and a Coke. And I came back to the house. We had our first night at freedom and feeling like a family again. So what happened, it was raining, it was storming, it was cold, and on the way back, this old lady, really wrinkled, with a headscarf on, and I remember the coat. I could see it wrapped around her, and she had a grocery cart, a basket, and she was sitting in between a mom and pop store trying to get shelter. I think I didn't know how I was going to even feed the family the next day. Those beans would have been last, I guess, for 2 or 3 days. But she reached her hand out to me and looked at me so humble. I think I had $26 left. And she said, "Mister, please, can you give me a little money so I could get me something to eat or get some shelter out of this storm?" I gave her the $6. So I said, well, at least I have 20 tomorrow. We'll get something to eat or whatever. I know for a fact, and I would carry this to my grave, and I want you to believe what Grandpa and Dad is saying. I walked to the corner, and I turned back around, and I gave her the other 20. I had no money, didn't know how I was going to feed Joey and Connie the next day. There's something told me, my heart, I said, here, take it all. I give her all my money. So I was walking back, I turned the corner, I looked back, the old lady, she said, thank you so much, now I can get some shelter for the night. I guess she was talking about a motel. When she got halfway across Telegraph Avenue in Oakland, downtown, that woman vanished. I watched her vanish in thin air. She didn't even make it back across the street. So I just thought about it, and I just shrugged it off like, oh, well, maybe I was seeing something I didn't, So the next morning I woke up. This guy called me. He needed me real bad. He was going to give me $300 advance. That's how he wanted me. He wanted me to run the job for him. So I had money. He brought it by for that day. I was looking in the paper. Then I never look at the classifieds unless I'm looking for a dog. So I just turned to the classifieds, just not thinking. I saw a little ad that caught my eye immediately that said VA loans buy a home, no down payment. I was blessed by giving that lady everything I had. Wasn't selfish. So that's the end of that story. But that's when we started. We bought our first house in Tracy. We went through everything that up to when we bought the first house that you know about in Tracy. So what I'm telling you now, my life has been I've always been honest. I've taught uh, my kids, especially Joey, is the one who, if you're a man of your word, you stick to it. If you're gonna say something, you stick to what you're gonna do. I want you guys to be good, be honest with each other, love each other, pray, especially pray. And I'm going to tell you what happened after, went through all the housing that we bought, and then we got back straight. And then in '07, my dad died. I was going through it with it looked like we drifted apart after 36 years, your grandmother and I, your mom and I. And then I was, now I want you to understand, I didn't consider myself a bad looking guy. I always had women around me, women come at me, but I always was a gentleman. I never liked putting my hands on any young lady, which I did a few times. I have to be honest with you, but it wasn't nothing that I enjoyed, just hitting on women. That's not good, not a good thing at all. I understand my grandfather did. I've seen my dad a couple of times, but they all were good men. They supported their families. They brought their money home. And Connie and I drifted apart, and I was still working. I'm building a building in Oakland, and I met this young lady. I was getting to that point because I wasn't a cheater. I've drifted here and there, and I've done things, cheated a couple of times, but I wasn't like a serial cheater where, I had to put a notch on my belt or anything like that. I always felt guilty. But in Oakland, I was building a building. I was living here in Patterson, where I am now, and renting a house, and a place called Diablo Grande. And I was working in Oakland in '07. I guess that was around August too. And what I did, I hired this young lady to work with me. And I had intentions, bad intentions, but it wasn't nothing I was going to act on. I thought she was beautiful. So she was working for me, and actually she was working every now and again. She always worked, but she needed a PG&E. She wanted a job. She worked hard. I was kind of training her, and her name is Latasha Abraham. It was. So I would put her off every now and again. She'd invite me for dinner, or she would cook for me. I'd tell her I'm coming, but I would come back home. All the way, it's quite a ride. It's about an hour and a half, 2 hours from where I live in traffic. So every day I was commuting. So I tell you the truth. That first day, I told her just to go take care of her bills. I gave her $300 in her pocket without even her working. Next day, she reported to work. We worked through that building, and we started talking to each other, and we became like best friends at the time. So she said, "Why are you commuting every day, and you can just stay here at my place, so you don't have to go so far?" So I did. I lied to Connie, and I was staying at an apartment, and I eventually ended up sleeping with her. And at the time, it wasn't like love, but it was a closeness. We shared a lot of personal feelings and ups and downs in our life. And I had found out when she was a child that she was molested at a young age by her aunt's husband. So, uh, so she ended up, kind of surviving, running away, surviving on her own. She had 2 kids, but what I admired about her, she always had a job, but she just couldn't make it on her own. So I was helping her and supporting uh, my wife and my house at the same time. So it was kind of a hard road to because I cared for this girl a lot. So actually, she was 36 at the time, and I'm 21 years older than her. So at this date right now, her name is Latasha Abraham Bates. I married her. We was together 2 years, and I married her in July of '09, 2009. And we married today, and it's been altogether 14 years, 12 years married and 2 years real together. And we've been going through ups and downs, and for her being so much younger, your grandpa is talking to you now is 66 years old. She's 45. There's some infidelity there, some cheating that on her account. I've never cheated on her. I'm trying to live right and raised now. There's a lot of issues with her, and I can understand that, but we then got real close to divorcing and all that too, because I don't condone it, and I don't want anyone watching this thinking that you don't have to be a fool. You don't have to take that. I do love her very much, but I'm very tolerant of what I'm gonna take now because we bought a house together. Actually, she was 6 months old when I went in the Army. Veteran administration is the reason. It's the second house I done bought with them, and we in Tracy now. I mean, in Patterson now. But it's getting better, and our relationship is good. I do love her. I raised her 2 kids, was Reggie and Simber. They call her Simber because she was born December 26th, so they took the D off it, and that's why her name is that way. So, anyway, the kids, they doing good to my guidance. They thank me every day. If I wasn't their dad, that they would turn out the way they are. She just moved out of this house, a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house, beautiful. Joe is here doing the interview. My best friend, always have been, always will be, and I don't get to see Sonia or Ryan too much. They have issues with the wife I have, but I know they love me and I love them very much. So it's just a concern they have, but I'm no fool. But God handles everything in his own way. So I know whatever happens, it'll turn out great. So I love y'all. I hope you enjoy this, and you can look at me when I'm not around, and that's a great thing. So our genes in this family is very strong. We all look alike. So I love y'all, and I'm gonna say goodbye.